Hey YouTube.
As you can see, I'm using the Sandisk Ultra Plus, and it's high quality. Look at that, really nice quality on this camera. That's really nice.
Canon cameras versus
really nice indeed.
Versus the iPad cameras and the iPhone 14 Pro cameras. Now, admittedly, all these devices can do 4K, and people have been saying the iPhone 14 Pro does a better job. Well, I disagree, and these are the reasons why I disagree with you. And I'm going to tell you why I think the Canon PowerShot XM40HS is a good buy for your money. Now, the Canon PowerShot XM40HS takes better quality images than any smartphone I've ever used. And I've taken pictures of the camera, and it offers this really nice quality that you just don't get with other cameras. Now, people have been saying that the Canon PowerShot XM40HS is more like the Canon XS190. However, I disagree. It's more like the G7X Mark II or Mark III with a slightly better sensor and faster focusing. And in my opinion, when I was doing some camera comparisons, I noticed that the Canon PowerShot XM40HS focused much quicker than the iPhone 14 Pro. It also focuses nice and quickly and has a nice fast zoom lens. Secondly, I'll insert some images off these cards, off some SD cards, which I'll use to take pictures. And show you that even in portrait and landscape, the Canon PowerShot
They sent the whole table flying. Are you videoing or photographing?
I don't deserve to.
No, we don't go now.
Got it working, guys?
You are? How'd you do that? What did you do? What did you do?
I did this. That.
What?
You tapped it against. Tapped it.
Now, unfortunately, the Canon PowerShot XM40HS kind of struggles in their lights compared to my old Sony Cybershot DCX60 and my Fujifilm Fanvix 6130, But just because its low light performance isn't as good as my Sony's, it doesn't mean it's a bad camera. The quality's still it can still be made out, and it outperforms my iPhone 14 Pro. The microphone's much better quality than it, and I know you can get add-on mics for the iPhone 14 Pro, but the reason why digicams are making a huge comeback is because of the reason that digicams have just outperformed iPhones in recent times, and in daylight, the Canon PowerShot S740HS performs as well as the GoPro Hero 11, and that's saying something about proper cameras. And I've just said that a proper camera, even just action cameras, are better than an iPhone for filming, because even my new Kodak X-Pro WPZ2, its quality might not be as good as the XP130 from Fujifilm, which I'm trying to revive and get a new battery for at some point. I would love to get this camera working again as well. Even though this camera no longer works properly anymore, you can still see when it was working, it was a high quality camera. And it was a bit grainy, but it was you could make it out what it was. And most of the photos I took with this camera have all been saved onto my SD cards, and that's why you keep SD cards around. Also, if you are using an SD card from 2018 or newer, it's important that you have a memory card that, you know, just can support 50 frames per second, because unfortunately the Kodak Pixel Pro WPZ2, which I own now, cannot do 50 frames per second. It can do 30 frames per second, which is alright, but compared to my Fujifilm Filmix XP130, which is my old camera, which I'm trying to get going again, and trying to see if I can get the boot up again by getting some new batteries from Fujifilm, see if I can get this thing working. Because I lost the battery from my Fujifilm Filmix XP90 as well, and right now the battery expired in 2017, and the battery isn't since expired, meaning the battery on the camera can no longer be used. The battery is no longer hold charge, like my old ISO S5 V5, which is why I had to switch to Kodak to make to do underwater filming. And I think that the Kodak X-Pro WZ2 is just as good as the XP130. However, I prefer the dial on the XP130, the way you lock it. In fact, the dial on the Fujifilm Filmix XP130 lets in less water than the Kodak X-Pro WPZ2, and even with cameras that, you know, we look back at the digicams, I loved my Fujifilm Filmix XP130 because it was an ergonomic camera. Yeah, the Kodak X-Pro WPZ2, which I own now, offers decent quality if you're recording in daylight. However, it's a lot harder to stabilise the camera unless you have a tripod. So, also, the Fujifilm Filmix XP130 is made in China, but some of the parts of it are from Japan, such as the battery and the strap. So it is actually a Japanese Canon, despite it having some Chinese parts. And even though the camera is built in China, it's still a good quality camera, and the camera is still very robust. My XP90 was my first ever waterproof camera, and as you guys know, that camera was filmed, but the microphone on it picked up a lot of bubble sounds, way too much bubble sounds, and it actually hurt my viewers' feelings as well. But I still got the XP90 as well, but the case is cracked. The XP90 was my first waterproof camera, and honestly, I'm going to go and say it, the Fujifilm Filmix, if you can get them working again and get them going, then you might have a winner on yourself. Now, both of the cameras I own, the Fujifilm Filmix XP90 is actually in slightly better condition. The Fujifilm Filmix XP130 has held up all these years later, and has actually outperformed Sony's waterproof cameras, because the locking system on the door is a lot better. Because it actually is like a mini lock on the door, and that assures you that you are not going to get water in your camera. The Kodak Pixel Pro WPZ2 has a similar system, but it's hard to get going. And the Kodak Pixel Pro WPZ2 has similar features. However, it can't take a full-size SD card, and also it can't. And also, it's not as easy to use as my Fujifilm 5X XP130. It's a bit more fiddly, and when you're getting ready to go out for the pool, for example, the XP130, it's easier to use. Now, both of these cameras are admittedly very good quality, but I think that the Fujifilm 5X XP130 offers slightly higher quality images than the than the Kodak Exposure WZ2. And my viewers did say when I got the Kodak Pro, the WZ2, they noticed that it was still better quality than an iPhone. However, on the other hand, it did have some issues, such as it not being able to record in 50 frames per second, which is a shame. But I still love the camera, and I still think it's a great camera, because it's basically a Kodak camera in a waterproof shell. And if you hold the camera still and you're patient with yourself, if you're patient like I am, you can actually get a good quality photo. It's not too grainy either. In fact, some of the photos took on my recent birthday were still very good, as long as you don't take it into low light. In low light, the Canon Power Shot is better. However, the Kodak Exposure WZ2 is still a good camera, as long as you just take it outside, as long as you just use it outside in sunlight. So, I'm not saying that the Kodak Exposure WZ2 is a bad camera, it's not. So, just because a camera can't record in 50 frames per second and above, this can do 30 frames per second, which is still decent, and it's still a good camera to use and a fun camera to use. However, on the other hand, I do prefer the Fujifilm 5X XP130 just for that doing 6 frames per second. However, it performs like the TX10, but ever so slight, not as good quality as the TX10. However, the TX10, despite it being a good camera as well, the TX10 has an issue where if you knock the battery door open, it will come loose, and that's why I did not want to buy a Sony camera. Now, we're going to talk about the two cameras I've used on holiday this year, and I'm going to get the SD cards from my Canon cameras into this camera. So part 1 has been edited now. You'll see a part 2 where I compare the quality on different cameras. This is a discussion 1 using digicams from now on, but the part 2 will be edited in a separate part, and you guys can watch that video as well. So thanks for watching.